Black. Present. Bratton. Huff. Razor. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, and I see Senator Brown here. Senator Brown, go ahead and proceed whenever you're ready.
For the record, my name is Ben Brown, Senator for the 26th District, and I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to present SJR39. This SJR, if approved by the voters, would freeze real estate assessments on the primary residence for qualifying seniors after reaching full retirement age. I can't tell you how many people I spoke to while running for office that expressed concerns over the rising property taxes on their homes, particularly in cases where they were on a fixed income and as a result feared losing those homes. For seniors, pressure to move from your home is immense as it is. While taxes have risen, 401k values continue to fall, putting many in a position where they are being squeezed from both ends. This is in addition to other obstacles like health and family issues. Government should not be an additional added pressure forcing seniors out of their homes. SJR39 would provide the necessary stability and predictability to allow seniors to stay in the communities they often helped build. It would allow them to continue supporting those communities with their volunteer efforts to schools, churches, hospitals, and other nonprofits. Communities benefit from long-term home ownership because long-term home owners are more invested in their community. When these long-term homeowners are forced out of their homes, they are often purchased and turned into rental properties. Obviously, anyone in a short-term rental agreement just isn't going to have that same level of investment. Promoting policies that give seniors the stability to stay in their homes isn't just the right thing to do, it also directly benefits their communities. So it is my hope that the committee will join me in supporting SJR 39. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions? Senator Serpoy.
Thank you. Senator, first of all, I like the concept of the bill. I know there's a couple others going around. I think it's going to be added to my circuit breaker bill. But what bothers me on all this is I'm not sure Warren Buffett or Bill Gates need help on their property taxes versus working families. It seems that anything like this should be means tested at some level because we have affluent seniors who don't have any problem paying their taxes. And I've heard from the same people you have that are on fixed income and struggling, and I couldn't agree more. But it seems like if you make $125,000 in retirement or something, maybe phase it out. I don't know how that would work, but I just wanted to add that to it.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that conversation. You know, the issue for me for the means test is how exactly what that would look like. Because you have these cases where seniors are on a fixed income, and the ones that are forced to go out and work and earn an additional income, and they might have assets. Do those factor in? Because that's not really contributing to their income. And the ones that are out there working are often the ones that are doing that because they have no other choice.
Right.
And so it's very complicated when you get into the means testing. And like I said, I'd be happy to discuss it with you further.
Okay. I think that's. It just seems to me that put a upward lid on it, and it would really help the people that are truly struggling. Because I think if somebody's working in retirement, their income's probably not $100,000. So anyway, thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Beck, go ahead.
Kind of on the same line, Senator. I think you have a part in here where basically your first home or your primary home would be the one that would be, they wouldn't have to pay taxes or whatever. The other part is Senator Roberts has a bill similar to this, but he also leaves it up to the local jurisdictions so they can decide on their services. Because when we cut taxes like this, when we do these things, we're also affecting the services that these exact same people need. So it's just something maybe that you may want to consider as you go forward. So,
well, this Bill, it would not actually cost local governments anything. It would be an offset of future increases, but it wouldn't actually cost the state or local governments anything. Also, it doesn't freeze their taxes, just the property assessment. So taxing districts could still ask for a tax rate increase from voters anytime they feel they would need more revenue.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could debate that, what we're saying here, so, but I appreciate it, thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Anybody in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 39, please come forward. Anybody against Senate Bill 39? Anybody for informational purposes only?
There's people in support, I know. I think they got thrown off because of SJR39.
Well, that's what it is.
I thought,
What?
You might have said SB.
I said SJR 39. Okay, go ahead. Are you willing to speak? All right, come forward, please.
First,
Go ahead whenever you're ready. Let us know who you are. Make sure you fill out a witness form.
thank you, Mr. Chair. My name's Thomas Eisel. I'm here on behalf of the Missouri Silver-Haired Legislature. If you're not familiar with that organization, it was formed by the Older Americans Act of 1973, so it was entering its 50th year. And it consists of Missouri seniors who volunteer to advocate on behalf of Missourians for various issues. As you may or may not know, the Silver-Haired Legislature comes to Jefferson City every October and spends 2 days debating various issues they wish to promote in the coming year. This year, priority number 2 out of 5 is a real estate tax relief for seniors. Now, if I could, let me start very quickly with one fact. In June of 2022, the ARP published the results of a survey of people 60 and older and asked them about their concern regarding their money lasting in retirement. 4 in 10 of the respondents said they are either very or extremely concerned about their money lasting through their retirement. Now, one might ask why that is, so let me very quickly give you 3 facts. In Missouri, life expectancy at age 65 is 18.9 years. So we look at roughly, let's call it a 2-decade time horizon for the average Missouri senior. Fact number 2, if you use the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, the CPIE, which is generated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, those results show that over the last 20 years, costs have gone up by about 1.7 times for seniors. Over the preceding 20 years, 1.9 times. So effectively what we're saying is over that 20-year life expectancy on average, we can expect seniors' costs to approximately double over that period. And finally, fact number 3, and that is if you look at historical data, the data suggests that senior incomes generally remain flat or even decline as time passes. Based on median household income in the United States for 2021, for the age group 65 to 74 years old, median household income was approximately $56,000 in 2021 dollars. For age group 75 years and older, that fell to a little over $38,000. In other words, household incomes oftentimes don't even stay flat, but they fall as people age. So we now have sort of a perfect storm where you've got longevity needing to be financed for at least 20 years for many seniors. You've got costs rising, close to doubling over that period, and you've got incomes that effectively remain flat or even decline over that period overall. So you have a perfect storm here which squeezes seniors out of their homes, which this bill is meant to at least partially address. And if I may, before I take questions, if I could address one question that was raised, which is a good one, and which we've heard many times before, and that has to do with means testing. And let me say 2 things quickly about that. I'm concerned, to be quite honest, about fairness on the one hand, but also about implementation. As I know you all know, the circuit breaker has not been, that income limit has not been changed since 2008. So that's means tested, of course, but it means all the inflation that's occurred since then has not been taken into account in that income limit. Secondly, if this is, I believe, an amendment to the Missouri Constitution, is it reasonable to expect that this body will amend the Constitution each year to adjust those income levels as inflation continues to raise costs over time? I personally don't think it is, but that's my bias.
Thank you for your testimony. Senator Serpoy.
Thank you. There is a bill, actually. I've got a circuit breaker filed to bring those numbers up and then to tie it to COLA. So if it passes, that should be remedied at least. Go ahead.
May I mention that very quickly?
Sure.
I know that, but I look at the number and the household income level, I think is going to be 35,000 roughly.
I understand. I just taking a small bite, so
Oh, I understand.
So the reality of the place. So, and I'm curious too, because I just was thinking, how will a circuit breaker, whether we modify it or not, will still be there, and so senior renters it won't apply to, but seniors that own a home, I guess it would just lock in their property taxes, and circuit breaker would still apply. They would just be laid over each other, I guess.
Well, remember, this would not lock in their property taxes, it would lock in their assessment. So as
Right.
Senator Brown said, if
Right.
the municipality can votes in a higher tax
Right.
rate, their tax still rise. So it simply mitigates that rise.
That's what the problem I'm dealing with all this property tax stuff. It's all local stuff. It's all things that people vote on. And in my district, I have a lot of people who just throw a fit about their tax bill. They don't realize that no tax increase bond thing they just voted on is actually what's driving that levy that is what your property tax is based on. So there's a disconnect there between people knowing what's causing the property taxes and complaining about property taxes. So I agree with that. But anyway,
Sure.
Thank you for your information.
Thank you.
Senator Huff.
Thank you. Did I hear you correctly that on average, a retiree roughly 65 is living somewhere close to 20 years?
Right, it's actually,
18 and a half, is that what you said?
this is in Missouri, and the number is actually 17.2 years for males and 19.8 for females,
Okay.
or on average about 18.9.
Okay. Yeah, no, my only concern with that is that perhaps at least Senator Serpoy on this committee is living on borrowed time at this point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any serious questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else to testify in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 39, please come forward.
Good morning, and thanks for having us. My name is Sarah Haney. I'm the Director of Communications for an organization that's a grassroots organization called Missouri Tax Relief Now. We began in 2007, and thanks to Senator Pro Tem Mike Gibbons, we were very successful in getting Senate Bill 711 passed back in 2008. And to your point, that was the last time the circuit breaker income levels were adjusted due to Senator Mike Gibbons' bill. Missouri Tax Relief Now supports Ben Brown's bill and Ben Keithley's bill, which are very similar, House and Senate. They do not do anything except freeze assessments. So it doesn't eliminate taxes. It doesn't increase taxes unless the tax rate is increased. That's very important to understand. And to your point, most people don't understand the formula and how it's applied. I wanted to also say we have a website. We have over 1,300 people across the state of Missouri that have signed this petition that want this, and many of them are in your districts. We believe SJR39 and 45 are the best bills that are out there. There are a lot of them, as you know, because they are a good balance between the needs of seniors and the needs of taxing districts that rely on property tax for their revenue stream. Since the freezing the assessments is what we're talking about, we are doing it only on their primary residence, as Ben mentioned, and they receive it when they get to full retirement Social Security age. Missouri seniors really need the help, and they need it now. Kiplinger's magazine rates Missouri as not friendly to seniors in their January 12, 2023 edition. As Tom mentioned, the squeeze that's going on, it's an unsustainable financial trajectory for many seniors. And many seniors, their home is their biggest asset. They don't realize the gain on that asset until they sell. Just like a stock, when you sell, you pay the capital gain when you sell. Seniors and every Missouri resident are paying capital gains on an asset they have not received any income from until they sell. Missouri Tax Relief Now believes seniors are hitting that tipping point as their life expectancy increases and inflation and increased costs associated with declining health are eating away more and more and more of their fixed incomes. And by the way, this is happening to everybody that's a senior, whether they're rich or poor. It may be more pronounced for someone with lower income levels, but it is happening to everyone. So I want to go through some of the individual features and benefits of this bill. The age qualification, as Ben mentioned, is full retirement age. We think that's reasonable since most people understand that. They start getting a lot of mail around their Social Security statements and such. So that's why we tied it to that. The assessment freeze is only allowed on the primary residence, not rental, not cropland, not second homes, vacation homes, etc. It freezes assessments, not tax rates. I've heard several of you mention taxes going away. Not so. Seniors will still continue to pay. If the tax rates, which are voted on, go up, their taxes will go up too. We don't get to vote on our assessment. It should not be a driver of a tax increase when it's not voted on. Yes, you can make a case and appeal it. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. It's not easy. It's an arduous task. It takes a lot of time. You need a computer. A lot of seniors don't have computers. So it's a very, very difficult process to go through. If the constitutional amendment is passed, the freeze will be implemented statewide. And this would apply some consistency across all Missouri counties on how assessments are carried out. About 20% of the properties which are owned by seniors will require little actual intervention on the part of the assessor each reassessment cycle. Furthermore, the number of assessment appeals should be greatly reduced, saving counties such as St. Louis County millions by not having to hire as many temporary assessors to help carry out those appeals. And believe me, that's what they do. They throw them in a room. There's 50 of them. The freeze is transferable to the spouse upon the death of the qualified senior, as long as the spouse stays in the home. And this allows the spouse to remain in the home at a time when they are even more financially vulnerable. And I think it would just be plain cruel for the state to come in and threaten a senior, or a county, to come in and threaten a senior with loss of his or her home when they are grieving and dealing with one of the most difficult times in life that any of us would ever face. While the bill will greatly reduce the number of property appeals, it does still allow for a senior to appeal. So if you have a market downturn like we had in 2008, they could still go and appeal the assessment. So again, seniors will still continue to pay taxes, but the amount they pay will be stabilized, only increasing when a new tax rate has been voted in. And there's nothing to prevent a taxing district from asking for that increase, however often they want, make their case, and I see them increased all the time in my area. If seniors stay in their home, they live longer and healthier. Their extended families remain intact. The state will save money on fewer Medicaid nursing home beds being occupied. Counties will save money since the assessment process on seniors' homes will be less time-consuming. We need to respect and honor our seniors. That's a strong Missouri value. Supporting seniors should not be a controversial or partisan issue. Freezing property assessments help show seniors the dignity and respect they deserve, keeping them in the communities that they love, that they've helped build, that they've been paying taxes for 40-plus years. They should not be threatened with having to leave that community because they can't afford their tax bill. So I would just ask all of you to please, let's get SJR39 passed out of the committee quickly, show the seniors that we care about them at a time in their lives when they are most financially at risk. And last but not least, since this bill places a constitutional amendment on the statewide ballot, I would ask that you help pass it on the Senate floor, allowing Missouri voters to decide for themselves how much they value our seniors. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. So you don't have to be retired, you just have to be Social Security age?
You have to be full retirement Social Security age, which for me was 66 and 2 months, but that is an upward movement. Full retirement, not the early 62.
Does it go backwards like we mentioned with Senator Sarpoy, should have been retired a long time ago? Can you go back?
He would hope so.
Okay, any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else speak in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 39? Please keep your comments brief.
Morning. My name's Tom Haney. I'm a retired senior living in the St. Louis area. I served 3 years on the Kirkwood School District Finance Committee, and part of our job there was to review projected budgets for the school district. I am also a current director of the grassroots organization Missouri Tax Relief Now, along with my wife here, and support Ben Brown's SJR39. Currently, property assessments in the state of Missouri are performed every 2 years by the 114 county assessors and the city of St. Louis assessor. And to prevent a windfall tax increase due to increased assessments, taxing bodies are limited in the revenue they can generate. This limitation is regulated by the Missouri Constitution, Article 10, Section 22, commonly referred to as the Hancock Amendment. And that's why this bill is a constitutional amendment. The Hancock Amendment controls the overall rate of growth, revenue growth, by taxing district bodies by mandating that they roll back their tax rates backwards when assessments go up. When setting the tax rate, taxing districts are allowed to generate the same amount of revenue as they had the year prior. Hancock also allows for an additional increase in revenue based on the actual growth rate, the CPI, or 5%, whichever is less. So they're actually getting a bump in revenues when there's an increase in assessments, if it's above, somewhere in there above those numbers. In the fiscal notes, a couple of taxing authorities who responded referred to a negative fiscal impact. But since Hancock allows taxing districts to capture the same revenue as last year plus a revenue growth increase, I don't see how you can consider that a negative fiscal impact. Hancock actually protects the taxing body's revenue and even allows for increases in the revenue due to assessment increases. Based on the 2020 census report, seniors age 65 plus account for about 21% of all owner-occupied housing in Missouri. Therefore, SJR 39 will affect 21% of the assessed residential real properties in the state, leaving the additional 79% of the residential properties under the current assessment program. Taxing bodies receive additional revenues from other sources, including commercial and agricultural property, a commercial surcharge, personal property, Prop C money, and state and federal money. Another important fact from the 2020 Missouri Senior Report is that seniors age 85 plus make up only 2.1% of Missouri's population. The report does not say how many of these 85 plus are homeowners, but you can see the dramatic shift downward due to death or leaving the state. Therefore, seniors benefiting from SJR39 could use it for approximately 20 years or 10 reassessment cycles, assuming they remain in their primary residence. SJR39 freezes assessments on a senior's primary residence only. It has no impact on the other classes of property, agricultural, commercial, or personal property. It's strictly residential and primary homes for the seniors. In conclusion, SJR39 will allow qualifying seniors to have a more stable and predictable property tax bill each year, while at the same time having no negative impact on the revenue streams of taxing bodies. Any representative of a taxing body that says they will lose money needs to show me and you, the lawmakers, how they have come to that conclusion. And so thanks for your time today, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Senator Serpo, you go ahead.
Thank you. So my districts, my school districts and the overall tax levy is underneath what is allowed. Like you said, they float it. So I don't know what percentage of school districts or counties are taxing under the levy allowed for all the taxing jurisdictions, but if there is room there, if we put this in effect, 21% of the houses would be frozen, and so they could go up to their cap to make up the revenue then. So everybody else potentially could be paying more in taxes to make up for that shortfall. Is that true?
Yeah, it would, when the assessments go up, usually the rollback is to reduce the rate, to capture the same amount, plus they get that growth rate increase to CPI or 5%, whichever is greater. I'm from the St. Louis area, so we have these monumental increases all the time. So generally, on reassessments, they're above the CPI generally all the time.
Right.
Like in 2020, I think the CPI is the highest it's been in 38 years from the State Tax Commission. It was like 7%, something like that, in 38 years. So that was a kind of anomaly. Normally it runs 2.5%,
Hopefully.
3%.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
So you were with Kirkwood. Does Kirkwood's what their tax bill is? Is it underneath the cap that they could
Yeah, it's
charge?
underneath the cap, and St. Louis area does something which is kind of unique. They do a blended rate.
And so that's how we would say you're not going to take a cut, is because other taxpayers will make up this as we shift from
it will increase.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Potential and other, but shift a little.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anybody else speak in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 39? Please keep your comments brief. We have 2 more bills to hear this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Dr. Dennis Gannon. I teach at the University of Missouri St. Louis in the College of Business, and I'm the founder and managing director of Tax Relief Now. You just heard Professor Dr. Tom Eisel of the Silver-Haired Legislators testify that seniors are going to lose 50% of their purchasing power from the time they retire till the time that they pass away. Sarah's explained the features on the bill. Tom Haney's explained how it's not going to cost anybody any money. Governor Parsons just signed Executive Order 23-01 to make sure seniors age with dignity, safety, and independence. The House just passed SJR45 out of committee, and they're setting it with the Rules Committee to have a hearing on the floor. This bill isn't just about the finances. This bill is about Missouri's values and how Missouri wants to treat its seniors. We know Missourians want to create a state that values its seniors, along with states like Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. On our website, 99% of the people, and I could probably say 100, but as a professor, I know I can't, so I'll say 99% of the people that visit our website sign the petition. They're in favor of it. That reflects what Missouri values should be. There's a few objections we expect to hear or have heard. I believe one of them will be, it's a set-aside program for only certain people. Now, this isn't true. Everybody in this room, along with Senator Serpoy and myself, I'm 70, are going to be seniors at some time in their life. So we're not setting aside a program for anyone. I believe Dr. Eisel has dealt with the means testing. It's just, we feel it's kind of a wealth envy, and we'd rather not go there. It's too much work for county, we've heard this comment, it's too much work for county governments that they can't administer this bill. SJR only requires verifying age and being alive. County and government employees are capable, well-paid, get cost of living raises and generous pensions. They're capable of stopping people from gaming the system, and they already reassess $135 billion in property every 2 years. This is going to save them some money. One of the comments that we'll hear is the assessment freeze will unfairly burden younger families. And that's a real concern. But let's take a look at it this way. Do they mean that it's fair to burden seniors who are losing 50% of their income, of their purchasing power rather, and are in declining health? How's that fair? Think of it this way. Younger families have been living off seniors. Seniors haven't used the school system for 30 years. And 60% of their property taxes are going to support it. The circuit breaker we always support, as we did in 2008, anything that can be done. In brevity, I've got several other comments, but I pulled a comment that I think sums up many of the comments, and of the 1,300, we probably have 900 of them that have made personal comments. I'll let Sally from Kansas City close my remarks. Most seniors live off Social Security benefits, which is less than half the income they received when working. Seniors are having to return to work, go without medication, refuse medical treatment, and go without food, all in order to keep from losing their home because of property taxes. Missouri needs to treat their seniors with respect instead of using them as a pawn. I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Senator Serpoy.
Chairman. Just as a, say you have a senior mom owning a home and her daughter's living with her or something and she dies, how does the county find out that that assessment or this freeze is no longer in effect?
Well, they do it with personal property taxes all the time, right? They mail out and, do you still own this car? And you can check it off. So
I don't own my house, though. I don't get that every year on my house.
I think that what the bill would allow for, I think the way the bill describes it is the person has to be, on the title. They have to be making the bills and paying the bills. I think everybody has to file death certificates.
They do, but I don't think the county the county assessor doesn't look at that. I don't think. Do they today?
Well, they don't have to now, right?
That's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to figure out how this would work on a large scale.
So what we do, what the bill provides for is it allows the administrators at the county level to decide how they need to implement it for them, right? Okay. So it gives each county the ability to customize how they want to deal or handle with it.
Okay, because I know the funeral home takes care of Social Security and all that stuff, notifying those officially that the person is deceased. But, okay, that's just another complexity in this that I'm not sure about.
Yeah, what they'd have to do, it's a fair question. What they'd have to do is verify age and life once a year. That would be something that they would have to do to maintain their freeze.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else to testify in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 39? I assume everybody's filled out a witness form. I know you're very interested in this bill since it applies directly to you. You should probably recuse yourself from the vote. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Hello, my name is Dennis Stummerth, and I'm the person that everybody up here has been talking about so far. I'm the senior citizen that's looking for some sort of tax relief for my property taxes. My property taxes, my real estate property taxes are the biggest bill I have every year. And I don't understand about assessments and levies. That's all your job. I don't understand any of that stuff. All I know is I'm 72. Most of my friends are older than me. I belong to a church an older senior citizen group at church, and a lot of these people are widows. Their husbands are no longer there, and they still live in the same houses that they've lived with their husband, and they want to keep their house. I've lived in my house for 38 years. I want to keep my house. When my mom passed away 5 years ago, me and my wife decided we wanted to stay in our house. We joked about it, saying we want to go out feet first. We want to die here. And so we decided that. So then the very, because I got my tax assessments right here. I appeal my taxes every 2 years because I live in a certain area. Everything around me is new houses. I live in an old farmhouse, and so every 2 years they just raise my assessments, so I got to go appeal it. I'm pretty successful, except for the last 2 years. You go by Zoom. I took all my stuff to St. Louis County, gave it to them, but then I got to talk to people over the phone. And my taxes, my real estate taxes in 2020 went up 102% in that 1 year. 102%. And so my Social Security only went up 8.9%. And so I did appeal that. They lowered it a little bit, so it actually only went up, I think, 78%. My tax bill, I got it right here for the last 10 years, was always around $3,800, $4,200, $4,500, $4,600. And in 2020, it was $4,618. And then in 2021, it went from $4,618 to $8,700. And I appealed it, and they lowered it to $7,200. But that's $600 a month. I've been in the house for 38 years. When I bought the house, my real estate taxes was $1,200. And I know they... worth so much more now, but I can't access it because I'm 72 years old. I can't get a loan on it to pay the taxes, and so I'm being charged really a wealth tax with the real estate stuff. And that's the major concern of everybody that I know in my age range is this is the one thing. I know we have inflation. Inflation is what, 8, 9, 10%, but when your taxes go up 30, 40, 50% in 1 year, that's just hard to fathom. You can't budget for that. And so right now my real estate, and now this is another tax assessment year, and I'm surrounded by brand new houses going up around me, and I'm sure it's going to go up again, but right now I'm paying $600 a month in property taxes for the house I've lived in for 38 years, and that's more than my first house payment was when I bought the house 38 years ago, and I want to stay in the house. But it's getting to the point now, if they raise these taxes up to $10,000 a month or a year, that's a pretty big, there's no way I can access the equity in the house because nobody will give me a loan anymore. And so I got to use that for my retirement savings. Like she said, I'm on Social Security, and all my friends are in the same boat. And when the one guy back there, when he said, so I'm figuring I'm 72. If you're 65, you're going to live 18 more years. So I'm figuring, okay, if I live 15 more years, times this $7,000 taxes, that's $105,000 in real estate taxes. And that's $105,000 in real estate taxes I'm going to pay in the next 15 years. And I just, I'm for this bill because I don't know what you guys can do, but I think it should help the senior citizens. I joke around about it with me and my wife. We don't do anything unless we get the senior citizen discount. And, and I'm not looking for a handout. I just kind of think if it would just be frozen, that would be great for me and for all of us, all the senior citizens, because we're on fixed incomes. We can't pay these exorbitant real estate prices when our house may be worth more, but we're not going to take advantage of it until we sell it, and we don't want to sell it. We want to live there. We raised our family there. Our kids, we have a lot of kids. Our kids keep coming back. One just came back from Denver just last week. Now he's living with us again, and I'm just here to testify over this bill. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I probably speak for all my colleagues when I say, those are the kind of testimonies that we really like to hear, the real world experience and how it affects a person in real life. So thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time.
Anybody else speak in favor? Anybody? I thought John was going to testify too. Anybody speak against Senate Resolution 39? Anybody for informational purposes only? Seeing none, thank you, Senator Brown. That concludes the hearing on Senate Joint Resolution 39. I move we enter executive session. Do I have a second? Any in favor? All those opposed say no. We're in executive session. Senate Bill 248 is Senator Brown's bill dealing with property conveyance in Rolla. I move that Senate Bill 248 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye. The ayes have it. The bill is for committee. Is there any discussion? I think all he was doing was conveying like 10 feet of property in Rolla. I move that Senate Bill 248 be voted out of committee do pass. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Matt, please call the roll to vote out Senate Bill 248 out of committee do pass.
Senate Bill 248, Senators Bernskoetter.
Aye.
Aye. Searpoy. Aye. Beck. Aye. Black. Aye. Bratton. Aye. Huff. Aye. Razor. Carries. It's 6-0.
The vote carries 6-0. Second bill is Senate Bill 199, Senator Thompson Rehder's bill dealing with adult high schools. I move that Senate Bill 199 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The bill is for the committee. Is there any discussion? I move that Senate Bill 199 be voted out of committee. Do pass. Do I have a second? I do have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Matt, please call the roll to vote out Senate Bill 199 out of committee. Do pass.
Senate Bill 199, Senators Bernskoetter.
Aye.
Aye. Searpoy. Aye. Beck. Aye. Black. Aye. Bratton. Aye. Huff. Aye. Razor. 6-0.
By your vote of 6-0, the motion carries. And the last bill in executive session is my bill, Senate Bill 185, that repeals the industrial inspection language that has been out of use since 1970. I move that Senate Bill 185 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye. The ayes have it. The bill is for the committee. Any discussion on that motion? I do have a substitute. My substitute has been distributed. All it does is add my language about the Personnel Advisory Board as well. Is there any discussion on that? I move that Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 185 be adopted. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. I move that Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 185 be voted out of committee. Do pass. Do I have a second? I have a second. Matt, please call the roll to vote out Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 185 out of committee. Do pass.
Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 185, Senators Bernskoetter. Aye. Searpoy. Aye. Beck. Aye. Black. Aye. Bratton. Aye. Huff. Aye. Razor. 6-0.
By your vote of 6-0, the motion carries. I move we exit executive session. I have a second. All those in favor say aye. We're out of executive session. Thank you, Senator Gannon, for your patience. Please come forward and present Senate Bill 421 to us, please.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I first want to apologize for my confusion this morning by coming in and joining your committee, which I'm not on. I apologize for that. That was truly a first for me.
It was nice to have a young lady on our committee.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 421 this morning. This legislation would require physicians register with the electronic death registration system for certifying death certificates, which will result in the elimination of errors and fraud that is prone with paper certificates. From April 2017 to December 2020, approximately 4,785 invalid drop-to-paper death records were received by the Department of Health and Senior Services. Of those invalid records, if not corrected, there can be consequences such as the death is not registered and families can never obtain copies of the certificate. Deceased Missourians do not get taken off of voter rolls, and deceased Missourians' state and or federal benefits do not get stopped. Thank you for hearing the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions for Senator Gannon? Seeing none. Anybody speak in favor? Oh, Senator Bratton, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just what information is on a death certificate? I know we're going to create a And I like the sound of it. I just want to know what information is displayed on a death certificate. Is it like their social security number and stuff like that? Are they on the death certificate?
That's
or?
a good question. I didn't really give that any thought, but I think somebody's here to testify
Okay.
that would
All right.
have that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anybody speak in favor, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Alex Eaton, testifying on behalf of the Missouri Coroners and Medical Examiners Association. The coroners across the state have worked with DHSS and the State Registrar's Office to bring Senate Bill 421 before you. Senator Gannon did a great job of explaining why this is needed. Senator Bratton, I think to your point, I'm not sure about the Social Security number, but where an error can occur in the process of just not checking the box on cause of death, missing a signature, and when it's on paper, that goes back to the coroner or medical examiner, and then they have to track down the physician. So doing it electronically, which majority of them do, but we referenced about 5,000 in a 3-year period, tracking that down just timely and efficient.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anybody else testify in favor of Senate Bill 421? Anybody against Senate Bill 421? Anybody for informational purposes only? Thank you, Senator Gannon. That concludes the hearing on
Thank
Senate
you.
Senate Bill 421. Senator Beck, Senate Bill 294. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Real quickly, Senate Bill 294 is, we should have this, the substitute distributed, and it adds a little bit of language to it, but real quick, when COVID-19 hit, a lot of ordinary people were hurt and left without their jobs. The unemployment rate in April of 2020 was the level not seen since the 1930s. And there were 4.2 million fewer jobs in October 21 than in February 2020. That's from the Center on Budget Policy and Priorities. All these people were hurting, and the federal government reached out to help, providing financial assistance to the families would not lose their homes or starve. Once America was able to return to work, the federal government waived repayment of that financial assistance, but Missouri would not grant that waiver. Instead, they started forcing families to pay back the money they had received, and when the families had just started new jobs, could not repay the money, the state placed liens on their houses and garnished their wages, taking them right back to where they had started during the pandemic. This bill would ensure that all other avenues are exhausted before the state takes such drastic measures against struggling Missourians, and that would also apply to other state agencies. That's the other part of this bill. They would have to do all exhaust all options before they go to garnish wages or put a lien on someone's home. And due to my respect for the committee, I asked nobody to show up today and testify in favor of it. And they listened to me very well, so, but I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Senator Beck? Senator Serpoy?
That's a great line. I'm going to remember that next bill I introduce. Thanks for that.
Senator Bratton, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I did not get a fiscal note, so is that distributed?
Well, there's a sub. Do we have a fiscal note for the
I
sub?
don't know that there's a fiscal note with that. I'm not sure the second part of the bill would add to the fiscal note. The original fiscal note, if I was mistaken, was somewhere around 37 million money that we would put into the unemployment from funds that we currently have.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
mean,
set aside once before and didn't happen.
Yeah, we talked about this the last couple of years,
Yes,
and it was
that's
always in the $40 million range, but
That's
your sub doesn't change that fiscal note probably, would it?
No, I don't think so, because it just simply says the other agencies that go after citizens would have to, exhaust all resources for all avenues first before they would be able to garnish somebody's wages. So I don't know that would,
Okay.
I mean, maybe, administratively it could, but I don't know how you would measure that.
All right, well, we'll get a fiscal note to all the committee members.
Okay, Thank you. I support your bill. I think this is common sense, so, thank you.
On the sub?
No, this is the underlying,
Okay. All right. Any questions? And you said nobody's here in favor of your bill?
No, I don't believe so. I'm hoping there's nobody
Brian, you want
against
to
it.
testify? Anybody opposed to Senator Beck's bill? Anybody for informational purposes only? All right, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 294. Thank you, Senator Beck. And that concludes the General Laws Committee. I move we adjourn. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thanks.